He was just a kid from Staten Island, New York, but when war came, he jumped straight into hell. Vincent Speranza, paratrooper of the 101st Airborne Division, fought through mud, blood, and the freezing woods of Bastogne. He saw brothers fall, yet never lost his spirit. His laughter echoed through the snow, even when hope was almost gone. To his comrades, he was more than a soldier. He was the heart of the unit. Years later, his story of courage and compassion would inspire generations. This is the legend of Vincent Speranza, the man who carried beer in his helmet and humanity in his soul. Europe is freezing. The war is dragging into its fifth brutal winter. The forests of Belgium are silent until artillery breaks the stillness. Bastogne, a name that would become legendary. Surrounded, outnumbered, freezing, the 101st Airborne Division stands alone. In that desperate siege, one man did something no military order could demand. An act so small, so human, it outlived the war itself. This is the story of Vincent Speranza, the paratrooper who turned a helmet into a symbol of hope, and how one simple act of kindness echoed across generations. Vincent Joseph Speranza was born in Staten Island, New York in 1925. One of 7 children in a working-class Italian family, he grew up in a city that never stopped moving, even during the Great Depression. His parents had little, but gave their children everything that mattered: discipline, humor, and love. As a kid, Vincent loved stories about explorers, heroes, the wild unknown. He dreamed of becoming a teacher, maybe a writer, but history had other plans. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, the world shifted overnight. America was at war. Vincent was still in college when he tried to enlist. He was turned down, too young. So he waited, impatiently, until he turned 18. In 1943, he got his chance. He enlisted, passed basic training, and volunteered for the paratroopers, an elite force that jumped straight into enemy territory. He later said, "I didn't join the Airborne to be a hero. I joined because they paid $50 more." But heroes rarely plan to be heroes. Paratrooper school at Fort Benning, Georgia, was brutal. The instructors made sure only the toughest survived. Men ran for miles with full gear, learned to pack chutes in their sleep, and faced their fear of jumping into nothing but wind and gravity. "You had to earn those wings," Vincent recalled. "Every jump your stomach turned, but you did it anyway." He was assigned to the 501st Parachute Infantry Regiment, part of the legendary 101st Airborne Division, the Screaming Eagles. After months of training, Vincent was ready. Europe was waiting. By December 1944, the Allies believed victory was near. But Hitler had one last gamble: a surprise offensive through the Ardennes forest. Tens of thousands of German troops poured into Belgium, catching the Allies off guard. The attack's goal: split the Allied forces and capture the port of Antwerp. In the middle of that storm, the small town of Bastogne, a crossroads vital for supply lines. Whoever held it controlled the region. The 101st Airborne was rushed there to hold the town at all costs. They arrived just before the Germans closed the ring around them. Freezing temperatures, constant shelling, no resupply, no air support. The men called it the hole. They had no winter clothes, little food, and were running out of ammunition. Yet, not a single soldier considered surrender. One German officer delivered an ultimatum to the 101st: surrender or be annihilated. General Anthony McAuliffe's answer: A single word: nuts. The message spread like wildfire. Soldiers laughed for the first time in days. It was defiance, humor, and courage rolled into one. And among those laughing, Private Vincent Speranza. One night, Vincent visited a makeshift aid station, a church turned into a field hospital. The pews were gone, replaced by rows of wounded soldiers. He spotted a friend from his unit, wrapped in bandages, pale but alive. The man smiled weakly and said, "Hey, Vinny, get me something to drink, anything, please." Vincent nodded and stepped into the cold. He wandered through the shattered town, searching for anything left intact. In the ruins of a tavern, he found something unexpected: a working beer tap. He looked around. No glasses, no bottles. So he did the only thing that made sense. He filled his steel helmet with beer. Then, carefully, he carried it back through the snow to the church. His friend laughed, the nurses gasped, and for the first time in days, the wounded had a reason to smile. Vincent went back for a second round. But this time, a nurse caught him. "Soldier, are you bringing beer into a hospital?" "Yes, ma'am," he said. "Doctor's orders, morale treatment." She wasn't amused. He got a scolding, but no punishment. Because everyone knew, in that frozen hell, laughter and warmth were rare medicines. That moment, simple as it was, became legendary. The story spread through the division like wildfire. The guy who served beer in a helmet. It wasn't about the beer. It was about reminding broken men that they were still human. The siege of Bastogne lasted from December 20 to December 27. For 7 endless days, the 101st fought off tanks, artillery, and bitter cold. The ground was so hard they couldn't dig proper foxholes. Men froze in their sleep. They wrapped their feet in burlap sacks to survive frostbite. And yet, they held. Finally, on December 26, General Patton's Third Army broke through the German lines and relieved Bastogne. The men of the 101st Airborne emerged half-starved, frostbitten, but victorious. Later, someone asked a paratrooper, "How did you survive that?" He shrugged and said, "We had beer in our helmets." The legend of Vincent Speranza was born. When the war finally ended in 1945, Vincent came home. Like many veterans, he didn't see himself as a hero. He saw himself as lucky. Lucky to be alive when so many others weren't. He went back to school, finished his degree, and became, just as he once dreamed, a history teacher. But he never stopped being a soldier at heart. He kept in touch with his old comrades, attending reunions, sharing stories, some funny, some heartbreaking. For decades, his beer story remained just that, a story told among friends. Until one day, the world remembered. In 2009, 65 years after the siege, Vincent returned to Bastogne. He was 84 years old. He expected to walk the streets quietly, maybe visit the old church, say a prayer. But when people learned who he was, they surrounded him. "You're the helmet beer guy," someone shouted. Local journalists interviewed him. Children hugged him. Soldiers saluted him. And then he learned something that brought tears to his eyes. A local brewery had created a new beer, inspired by his act of kindness. They called it Airborne beer. And how was it served? In ceramic mugs shaped like paratrooper helmets. Vincent laughed so hard he cried. "I can't believe this," he said. "All I did was carry beer for a buddy, and now I'm on a bottle." That day, he raised his glass, or rather his helmet, and toasted his fallen friends. "To the boys who didn't come home," he said. "They deserve the cheers, not me." After that trip, Vincent became something of a celebrity. Not a movie star, not a politician, but a living bridge to history. He gave talks at schools, universities, and military bases. He didn't romanticize war. He spoke about fear, about laughter in the dark, about how courage doesn't mean not being afraid. It means doing what's right despite the fear. He told students, "You don't have to carry a gun to make a difference. Sometimes it's enough to carry a little hope." In 2014, he published his memoir, Nuts, a 101st Airborne Division machine gunner at Bastogne. It wasn't just about battles. It was about friendship, loss, and the small sparks of kindness that kept men going. His words reached thousands. Veterans called him a brother. Civilians called him a hero. But Vincent always said the same thing. "I wasn't special. I was just one of the lucky ones who got to live long enough to tell the story." Vincent Speranza passed away on August 2, 2023, at the age of 98. Nearly a century of life, from the Great Depression to the digital age. He never forgot the faces of the men in that church, or the laughter over a helmet of beer. In Bastogne today, visitors still raise their cups, shaped like helmets, and say his name. To Vinny, they toast, the man who gave us hope. His legacy isn't carved in stone or written in history books. It lives in the simple truth. He proved that even in the darkest days, a single act of kindness can light the way forward. And that sometimes the greatest victories aren't won with bullets, but with humanity. Dedicated to Vincent J. Speranza, 1925 to 2023. Currahee, we stand alone.